Welcome, dear friends, to this Tuesday night Dhamma program with the Dhamma Darini here in Pengrove. I'm blessed to be joined this evening by two of my Bhikkhuni colleagues, that is to say, Venerable Bhikkhuni Dhammanusari and Bhikkhuni Vandana. It so happens that they are observing their Vasa residency at the Aranya Bodhi Hermitage in Pengrove, and for them to come here and stay overnight with me and visit for a couple of days. It's only allowed to do in the Vinaya when there's an allowable reason for the visit. And one of the allowable reasons is if somebody needs a Dhamma talk. So then Venerable Dhammanusari will join tonight in speaking about the Dhamma. And then tomorrow morning, Venerable Vandana will be giving a special Zoom program broadcast to India. Is that going to be in Hindi language? Sure. Yes. So it will be in Hindi, so if you might not be able to understand it, but that's how we satisfy the spirit of the Vasa retreat. At the same time, we maintain our cordial and friendly connection between those of us who are staying here at the monastery in Pengrove and those who are staying out in the forest at the Hermitage in Jenner. Continuing with the practice of peace, continuing with the cultivation of loving kindness and compassion as a very important foundation for peace, both in the sense that while the mind is conditioned by the thought of kindness, then the thought of anger or hatred or resentment would not be arising, at least if the mind is really filled up to the brim, completely pervaded with loving kindness. And then secondly, when confronted by some kind of danger, some shock, or some hostility, the practice of loving kindness becomes a very effective protection, a kind of a shock absorber, so that the danger doesn't cause us to go into a negative or an unskillful reaction. A little bit later on, we're going to be telling you about the Kanda Parita, which is the protection from snakes, the protection from all kinds of animals and creatures, and the practice of loving kindness towards all kinds of animals and creatures, including those who potentially could be biting us or stinging us, or causing painful feelings if we happen to startle them or frighten them, or appear to be dinner for them. for the meditation today. Let us particularly incline the mind to include not only the human realm, but also to include the animal realm. To reflect on the hardship and the stress that can be experienced by animals. And wish that they would be able to be free from stress in the moment, and they would be able to obtain a birth where they will not be subjected to stress, where that can be escaped altogether. Being conscious about how our species, the human species, may very often treat animals with a cruel kind of indifference, using them, exploiting them, killing them, indifferent to their feelings and for their desires for life and safety. And with the wish that while others may be careless, are cruel, are thoughtless towards animals, that we shall be considerate and kind towards animals, or towards all the species. When they see us coming, let them not see death on 2 feet coming to kill them, but let them see a kindly friend wishing for their welfare. I notice that again we have Venerable Dhamma Ruchika and Bhikkhu Ganeshan, so we give our respectful and warm welcome to you being present tonight. Would you like to say a few words?
Not formal. Namo Buddhaya, a greeting to all the Venerable, and greeting to the Dhamma friends around here, nearby and far away, who will be with us today. Today, I have an opportunity to become in meditation with Ayya Sobhana, which is a quite warm weather, actually, because when we live at the Aranyamputi, it's quite cold. So mostly I do out. I went to the creeks and meditation there, and at night, and after 1, around 4 to 7, I went to the stupa. It have a peaceful, quiet, and windy there. Today I really don't know what is the purpose that what do we want to talk about it. But one thing's in my mind, it's about the compassion that I want to share a little bit. What I have learned of compassion, it's about the feeling to other, and this kind of feeling, it must be attached to the other one or someone, that to get their suffer and our own suffer too. Forgive me if that what I have say might not quite understand, because this English, it's a little bit different for me too. So as we practice the Buddha, so I bring a little short thing that to talk about. As when the Buddha was a child, Siddhartha was saw his cousin Devadatta who pushed the arrow to the swan. Those moments you can see some people who did not have a compassion, exciting and happy to see the swan come down. But because the Buddha, as a child, as a Tathar, he gentle run to holding a swan, with his compassion holding the swan, gentle with that feeling. So the feeling between him to the swan, you can see that make the swan feel, how to say, feel, understand that someone who hold and care it, because we feel the hurt of that animal. So that once. And on the story of the Buddha, I can see the compassion of him there much more. On the other one, which is the same thing of Devadatta, who do something to the elephant, that the angry elephant will come. But because of his compassion, he understands that with his calmful, and then the elephant will just, whatever it become, that power, anger, will be disappeared. So this compassion, it much more meaning when you feel something to someone. It could be relief of the pain of that person. But in this world, our own suffering, we have too many categories. Some people like to share, some people did not like to share, so they put that to themselves. But a little bit at a time, when we understand more the suffering of other pain, it just example like when the Buddha, he see the angry elephant, he calm. So I assume to be us. We can be compassion to others who suffering, and then a little bit at the time, this kind of suffering will be help the other person who are in pain. So the suffering, it's between the feeling of one to another one's. And I see another thing of when the Buddha, before his enlightenment, I believe that I can say it's a compassion too. When he see the old man get sick, painful, die, those are the compassion that he have. And that compassion which make him feel to realize this is the life that we will live to this, our samsara. We cannot get away from this painful here. So that can make him be awakened. So when I say this, it's remind myself, example, just like the elephant I said, we have lived around this life right now. We see many things. Example, sometimes we live in a good neighborhood, which is good, but if you live some other with a neighborhood which is have too much noise, have too much things, but if you use the anger to torch them, it not resolve the problem. So we just try to be patient, a little bit at a time, calm, and have a compassion, and spread that compassion to others, just like a metta. And I think that will help the other people. And compassion, is it in Pali or Karuna, Ayya?
Yes.
All right. So I think that's all I think that I can share for today.
Okay. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. At this time, I'd like to invite, I'm going to read off the English of this verse of the protection of loving friendliness. And then we will chant it for you in the Pali language. And this was given on an occasion where the bhikkhu was bitten by a snake, and then suffered painful illness secondary to the snake bite. And the Buddha advised the bhikkhus that they could avoid the danger of snakes by giving loving kindness to the 4 families of the snakes. There were the Virupakas, the Arapatas, the Chabyaputas, and then Kanha Gotamaka. Those were the 4 different kingdoms or different varieties of the snakes. When we have people staying in the forest at our hermitage, we have this recitation on a card in each one of the kutis, and we advise any visitor or any resident who's staying in the forest that they should do this recitation on a daily basis in order to create an atmosphere so that the entire hermitage would be pervaded with this thought of kindness and safety, and so that any animal or bird or insect or creature who comes by the hermitage would feel that they're not going to be harmed while they're staying at the hermitage. It's for the same reason that we don't cook meat or fish at the hermitage, because if the animals would smell the cooking flesh, it could really scare them. So we don't do that, so that we don't create that disturbance and that fear. I think that this sense of friendliness and welcome also extends towards the devas, or the non-physical beings who dwell on the earth or among the trees or in the land. And it could be that in this modern times, a lot of people they don't believe in devas, or they don't believe in immaterial beings, because we have a society that's so unfriendly, so noisy, so ugly, so harsh. And so why would the Devas want to hang out in such a place like that? But if we create a world or create a space which is pervaded with kindness, then I think that may attract the friendly spirits, or even the petas, those beings who are in a woeful state, that they may be in an unhappy, suffering state, but still able to have a perception of this world and the beings in this world, that those beings also would be aware of that the hermitage is a place of kindness, and it's a safe place for them to stay. And by having that experience can help to turn a being from a track which is full of suffering, possibly towards a more fortunate birth, to be born in a state where they would be able to hear and comprehend the teachings of the Buddha, and have the possibility to realize true happiness, the true security, the true safety, the true end of suffering. In English, the meaning is, there is metta from me for the Virupakas, for Arapatas, there is metta from me. There is metta from me for the Chabyaputas, for the Kanha Gautamakas, there is metta from me. From me there is metta for those with no feet. For those with 2 feet, there is metta from me. From me there is metta for those with 4 feet. For those with many feet, there is metta from me. May those with no feet not hurt me. May those with 2 feet not hurt me. May those with 4 feet not hurt me. May those with many feet not hurt me. May all beings, all those with life, may all those who have become, all in their entirety, may all see what is good. May suffering not come to anyone. Infinite is the Buddha. Infinite is the Dhamma. Infinite is the Sangha. Finite are creeping things, snakes, scorpions, centipedes, spiders, lizards, and rats. I have made the protection, I have made the safeguard. May the harmful beings depart. I pay homage to the Sublime One. I pay homage to the 7 Buddhas. We didn't rehearse this in advance, but either one of these bhikkhunis here has got a better voice for chanting than me. Would you be willing to lead us in chanting this in Pali? We can all chant together.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato Samma sambuddhassa. Virupakkhe me metang era patehi me Chabya pote hi me metang kanha gotama ke hi cha apadake hi me metang dipadake hi me Chatupadehi me metang bahupadehi me mamang apadako hensi dipadako Chatupade metang Hinsi bahupado sabe sata sabe pana sabe bhuta cakevala sabe bhadra nipasantu ma kanchi papa magama Apamano Buddho, Apamano Dhammo, Apamano Sangho, Pamanavantani Sirinsapani, Ahivicheka Satapadi Unnanabi, Sarabu Musika, Kata me rakha, kata me parita, patikamantu bhutani, sohang namo bhagavato, namo sattanang samma sambuddhananti. Sadhu.
I would like to ask now if there's any comment or any testimonial report that anybody may give about this practice of loving kindness, which includes all of the species and all of nature, not only for the humans, but for all beings.
We talk about this spread the metta to love and kindness to all those animals. I have a question once. Mostly we say, in my country, they say a crazy dog because in the old village, people did not have a vaccine or whatever to inject to the dog like in the western side. And my question is, as a people who practice love and kindness, if we see the wild dog or wild animal like this, would we be brave enough to go to show that, hey, I have a really kind, But for me, if I knew that, I just spread a metta from far away, but not just to go that, okay, have enough share spirit strong and go nearby. So how do you advise this?
There's a sort of a um, a very common modern story that I've heard from, with respect to bhikkhus, especially in the forest tradition of modern bhikkhus who go out into the forest to sit and practice meditation. And then some a wild animal comes, and if they smell the animal or feel the breath of the animal or feel the touch of the animal, then, as it's described in more than one biography of a forest monk, the thought arises, if it's my karma for my life to end right now, then that's okay. And if it's my karma to continue living, that's okay. But I will not let fear shake me or cause me to give up my meditation. And then in the story, the tiger, rather than attacking, licks the salt from the monk's head. And so he feels the sensation of the dangerous creature licking his tongue or licking his face, and continues to hold on to his meditation posture without moving. Another similar story I've heard, not read about in a book, but I heard from the bhikkhu who experienced it. My friend Bhante Rahula is a very brave in his practice, especially when he was younger. And on one occasion, I'm trying to remember what kind of insect it was. It was a scorpion or a centipede or something like that got on his ear while he was practicing meditation. And Bhante Rahula didn't want to. He was young and courageous at the time, and he really wanted to hold his meditation and not move. And so he didn't move, and he just stayed perfectly rock still while this scorpion was chewing on his ear. And the entire side of his head started to swell up while it was being chewed on, and he just kept at meditation. And then somebody was passing by and saw him, and sort of rushed over and brushed the insect away, and he was able to recover from it. So I do in my own experience, insects, there's not very many. Most animals are not inclined to attack a grown person unless they get surprised by mistake, if you bump into them or step on them, or if you get in between the mother and the baby, or something like that. So part of the reflection of kindness is being considerate, sensitive, and aware of creatures, and then just having that consideration can avoid danger. We have one dangerous, very dangerous, or theoretically dangerous being. I guess it has 6 legs or 8 legs. It's called a tick. And the tick is they do need to eat. They're hungry, and the food that they use is the blood of mammals. So the tick does bite, and we've been advised that if a tick does bite, that we should remove it within 24 hours. And so it's completely possible to gently pull the tick off and let it go. So if we didn't have the information from the medical doctor that this tick might be carrying a disease that could cause a life of a disability from the Lyme disease, then I think one could just sit and allow the tick to have their complete meal, and it wouldn't be any harm. The only reason why we remove them is because the doctors tell us we're supposed to do so in order to avoid that disease. So as a monastic, or as somebody who's really determined to awaken, I believe that one should not go into a panic because of being in a life-threatening situation. And if there is a life-threatening situation, and if the stress and the emotion and everything that comes up related to that, and then if one survives that dangerous circumstance, and then you could have a whole different kind of an emotional response afterwards, saying, "Wow, I'm alive. I'm not going to die today. I'm alive." And then one can notice and have an opportunity to actually experience and know that this is what we've inherited as part of the dukkha of being this kind of a flesh and blood creature, that we're afraid of death, and we are so elated and such a rejoicing if we feel that, if we have a actual physical danger experience, and then come out of it and find out that we survived, and how much craving and attachment and emotion and reaction comes up naturally in connection to these life and death situations. And this is really the opportunity for insight to say, wow, the beings have a desire for more life. They want to live. And we spend our entire lifespan in this life with this strong desire to live. But most of the time, modern civilized people living in the city are might be never experiencing that kind of a fearful situation unless they encounter a gang of criminals, or if they engage in something thrilling like skydiving or some kind of a sport that's very dangerous because they want to give themselves that kind of excitement. But when at some point in life we do encounter actual life and death circumstances, and it's a very important time that you've got to understand what it is to be this kind of an animal, the two-legged animal with the kind of brain that we have, who's so attached to life. And then understanding that gives us an opportunity to change our priorities and to practice to go beyond this clinging to life. And when we have really gone beyond, if we really go beyond this clinging to life, then it wouldn't really matter. One could, throw oneself off the cliff to provide dinner for the hungry tiger, if that was the compassionate thing to do in the moment. Does that answer your question?
Yes,
But we shouldn't blame, people who don't have this spiritual training, that they are fearful and they respond out of fear. We've got to just know this is what happens in the world. And that's why people go round and round on the wheel of samsara, because they don't know any better. They haven't discovered the way out of it. Richard?
Thank you, Ayya. I'm a bit concerned when I hear these things which are sort of, let's say, mythologically based ideas, that someone who can't think clearly might embrace them and severely hurt themselves in the process. So Buddha specifically says, like, you wear the robe. He gives an example to ward off gadflies and mosquitoes. He's not going to list every possible thing, but in other words, you can sit in meditation and put your robe over yourself and protect yourself from those things. He doesn't talk about feeding the mosquitoes or anything. Well, let the mosquitoes have some dinner. He says specifically, one of the good use of the robe is to ward off mosquitoes and gadflies and things like that. He also advises, one of the reasons not to go out begging at night is because there's so many dangers and things. At that time it's the dark and you can't see what's going to happen to you. And he also I think he talks about avoiding wild dogs and things like that. So although it's nice to think that our having a mind state of metta, right, might affect the minds of others. Like when he gives the example of the monk who's able to produce that full mind state of metta, who gets captured by bandits. He doesn't just give himself up to the bandits and say, okay, here I am, do what you want with me. He gets captured by them. And bandits have a way of seeing the world only through their own imaginative eyes. So obviously they're capturing him and saying, okay, where's your money? Most people have some kind of funds or something when they're traveling, right? That's why they want to harm, they're trying to torture him to get his money out of him, right? So this high level monk would be expanding metta towards them, not having any ill will towards them, but they're still sawing him in half. It's not changing their minds in any way, shape, or form. So I would be very careful about something like, a dog with rabies, a rabid dog or something like that. That's an extremely dangerous situation, to get rabies. And I don't think there's other than some mythological stories that come from the Jataka tales, that, and there may be some commentaries or something that echo those type of ideas. You don't really see that in the sutta itself. And, I don't want to sound like I'm being critical or anything, but I'm just very fearful because I know how imbalanced human minds can be. And we need to be very, very careful about kind of putting certain things out there, because someone may think, oh, let me test myself, let me see how my metta is going or something, and end up in a very bad, dangerous, painful, maybe even life-threatening situation. Anyways, no one has to accept anything I say, but I think we need to be cautious and a little self-reflective and everything in this way. Anyway, so thank you for listening.
Thank you. In a way, this your comment, Richard, reminds me of how I have learned to respond to the inner demons of the afflictive emotions or the unskillful thoughts and so forth. I learned one of my slogans from the earlier time of my getting on this Buddhist path was that in meditation, I would never look for trouble. So I wouldn't sit down in meditation and intentionally start worrying about my problems. Or if like some anxiety or some kind of like a emotion come along, I wouldn't start like during the meditation to say, exploring like, where does this anxiety come from? Is this something that my mother did to me, something that my father did to me, something from earlier in my life, and trying to do the psychotherapy to analyze it. But instead, just simply to be like just very objective, so it's a feeling. And just to observe the arising and passing of those feelings, or the arising and passing of those thoughts. So then the idea was never to go looking for trouble, but to realize that trouble will come to me in meditation. So even if my evolution was such that my, say, anxiety was temporarily not a big issue, it can be that during meditation, as we go deeper and deeper, that some very deep-seated things can come up to the surface, or some very deep-seated thoughts or memories or something can come to the surface, and things that normally are suppressed or buried can come out. And so when they come up, then we have a chance to see them. So in the same way with the trouble from dangerous animals or dangerous insects, or rabid dogs, one would not look for trouble. Another real-life example is our teacher, Bhante Gunaratana. We know that he used to take an extensive walk every afternoon, and he carried a large staff, and he called it his metta stick. And he would use it to ward off any dog that was threatening to attack him. And so that's also a reality. But even so, like even the name that by warding off danger or removing the tick, or promptly getting the antidote for any kind of injury, or avoiding dangerous places, then it can still be done with metta. Here's another animal story. We have one neighbor at the Hermitage who has several pet wolves that she keeps, that she has an enclosure in the yard, but from time to time the wolves get out, and the wolves can be quite aggressive, not towards humans, but towards dogs, towards small dogs. So on one occasion, our chief Dayaka of the land there is named Jill, and Jill has a very lovable, very small poodle type of dog. And the poodle was outside on one occasion, and the wolf came and was ready to attack that dog and have it for lunch. And the dog ran inside the house. And then the wolf chased after inside the house. So our friend had this gigantic, ferocious wolf come rushing into her house. And she picked up a broom and chased him away. And protected her. And then she has she's an attorney, and she called, she notified the neighbor in writing that if the neighbor did not succeed in controlling those wolves, that the next time, if it happened again, that she was going to call the animal protection, and those wolves would have to be removed from that situation. So nevertheless, my friend is a Buddhist, that lady is a Buddhist practitioner who practiced loving kindness. So we shouldn't intentionally torture and kill animals, and we should try not to deprive them of their habitat. We should try not to pollute the world such that the animal species are dying off in massive numbers. I'll call on Sheila.
Good evening, Ayya. The last story about the wolf and not wanting to intentionally kill any animal or species reminds me of this morning. I was reading a cookbook from maybe the 1970s, and a very well-known, or at least at that time, well-known chef wrote this book. And I was, actually it was a book of essays about the particular cook and chef. And in it, the writer of this particular essay shared a recipe of this person. And it was some sort of, I think, crab chowder. And I read the recipe, and you actually had to take the crabs and put them in the hot water. And I couldn't even imagine doing that, but I remembered this visceral feeling that I had that, wow, to make this dish, to actually put the crabs into the hot water to, literally kill them in order to complete the recipe. I just really cringed at that, and the feeling of that sort of proximity was just very difficult to take. So I know I won't be making that particular recipe anytime soon, well, at all.
Thank you. So indeed, the ethical choices we make will be affected if we reflect about the implication of intentionally harming any creature at all, and become conscious of that. And then likewise, as a meditation practice, it can happen that the sensitivity, in particular, they often refer to beings who breathe. So I do often feel that connection of the breath, that like my breath and the breath of all the other beings is connected because we're all breathing the same air, we're all participating, all connected to different corners of the same living sphere. And so then it is one way to obtain a profound, tranquil meditation. And it may be that perhaps if a being is noble, they may have a kind of a charisma or the capacity for their thought of kindness to be so powerful that it would cause the wild elephant or the rabid dog to stop and to lose their anger and to become quiet and peaceful. So with these thoughts, we can pay respects to the Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha. Araham Samma Sambuddha Bhagava Buddhang Bhagavantang Abhivademi Svakato Bhagavata Dhammo Dhammam Namasami Supatipanno Bhagavato Savaka Sangho Sangham Namami. Thank you, everyone, for your patient listening tonight and for your practice.
Thank you, Ayya. Good.
Thank you.